You mentioned college football playoff, and I'm somebody, again, that talks South kind of 24/7, 365. So unfortunately, I haven't got to talk a ton of playoff because we're not quite there yet. But of course, with college football fans, the conversation comes up, what is the right number? And I'll agree with you. I think the move to 4 was a great move in theory, but I think we all agree. We look back now and say, man, maybe the old BCS system wasn't that bad. I mean, we were getting to the same point.
Let me give you a stat that maybe you haven't thought about real quick. All right. During the 6 years of the BCS, 18 different teams, okay, play with only 2 teams available.
Right.
In the 7 years of the college football playoff, 11 teams have been in the college football. 11.
Yeah.
Now, they basically, by getting rid of strength of schedule, getting rid of computers, they limited the playing field. Okay, that's what they did. And with all due respect to my friends at ESPN, and I still have many of them there, the who's in branding was a colossal mistake. Who's in? We know who the hell's in. I can tell you in July who's going to be in. Okay, it's Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, maybe LSU, and then Ohio State. That's what we got. Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and
so that leads to
who's in. I know who's in every year.
What's the solution? The right number? We've heard 8 tossed around, 12, 16. What do you think?
They're committed to 12, and here's why they're committed to 12. 8 was the number I was shocked when they went to 12, but I understood why they did when they came out with the research, and I do applaud those guys. I think the research was tremendous. They basically said, we'll get so much more revenue if we have what? More games, more content. We're leaving a lot of money on the table here. And if we go to 8, okay, fine. We might get one of the so-called Cinderellas out of the group of 5. We might be able to get one of those in. Yeah. But we're also going to have multiple teams out of the same leagues. If we go to 12, now we're bringing in, really the whole country's going to be engaged. All right. The conference championship games in recent years, unless it was the Big Ten or the SEC, why watch?
Yeah.
You knew who was in. Well, now with 12 teams, all the conference games matter. I mean, not just the Pac-12, which hasn't mattered in a long time, not since Mariota was playing in 14, and I did that game. Has that game really mattered? But, hey, the Sun Belt Championship game might matter.
Which it's funny to hear you say this, Tim, because
Coastal Carolina, think about that.
Yeah.
Coastal Carolina, and as we used to call our friends down in Lafayette, ooh la la. They got a great team, by the way, and I've got their opener at Texas on September the 4th. But
beautiful.
All of the conference championship games matter.
Which goes against most people. They try to argue against it, saying, "Oh, well, the games aren't going to matter as much," which I think is crazy. It
is crazy. It's totally bad.
In what world are college football fans not going to care about? Like, I don't care if you let 32 teams in. People are going to care about Alabama Auburn. Like, that game will never lose its luster.
Auburn,
you know what I mean?
Auburn Alabama weekend, the Iron Bowl weekend, Chris. For the last 2 years, Spencer Tillman and I have done the Heartland Trophy game in the Big Ten between Iowa and Wisconsin. Now, that game's always been on opposite Auburn, Alabama. So you think to yourself, well, gosh, that game, nobody's going to be watching that. Well, think again. The Heartland Trophy game between Iowa and Wisconsin's always going to get a quality rating. It's going to have, 3.5 to 4 million people watching in the Big Ten area. Okay. But really, with the stakes in that game would probably be for what? For the right to get your butt kicked by Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. I mean, that's what they're literally playing for. All right. But you take a game like that now, I could project Iowa and Wisconsin every year to be top 15. Every year. Now, one team might be 16 or 17 one year, and the other team 8 or 9, or we could flip-flop them, or they could be stacked at like 12 and 15. All right. Imagine how many more people are engaged to watch a game of that caliber I could use another example in another league very easily, that because said team is ranked at or around number 12, and the game is being played anytime in November, early November, mid-November, whatever, that game takes on so much more importance because they're fighting to get in the top 12. So there is absolutely nothing but upside for the regular season to go to 12 teams in the postseason. Nothing but upside.
Do you think 12 is the solution, or should it be more?
No, 12 is
12's perfect.
I think anything more than that, and we allow the pinheads that start saying, well, we're turning it into the NFL. I don't want them to have a stake. I don't want them to have any legitimacy at all. And I think if we get beyond 12, we give them credibility when they say, well, they're turning it into the NFL. That talk is already there. I want to extinguish it before it gets started any further.
Yeah, I agree with you, Tim, by the way. I think 12 is the move. I was talking to a buddy about this a couple of weeks ago, and what he was saying is, you're giving teams, for example, South Carolina, you're giving those fan bases even more reason to be invested early in the season, because right now in college football, if the goal, like you said, South Carolina's not a fan base that's spoiled or over entitled that, hey, if we don't go to a national title, we're just going to be checked out. But there are a lot of fan bases that you lose a game early and you're out of the talk for a conference title or national, and they're just done. So it gives more teams, more fan bases reasons to be invested longer into the season.
And what the committee found out, the guys that were involved in this, Bowlesby, Craig Thompson with the Mountain West, and Sankey with the SEC, what they found in their research was that by having 12 teams and going back to the campuses for the opening round, 5 plays 12 and 12 comes to 5, 11 comes to 6, 10 comes to 8, 9 and 7 get together. I mean, seeing that, okay, and the elimination process from that team that wins and moves on, okay, fans in our country follow sports that way in every other sport. In every other sport, you win this one, you advance to this. And then, by the way, having the top 4 teams with a bye, that only gives the teams at or near the top even more incentive to stay there, to make sure that they don't have to play. And when Notre Dame acquiesced to this, Jack Swarbrick, the athletic director, said, you know what? I got no problem. My team's an independent. We can't win a conference. I'll take number 5 because I get another home game. Notre Dame needs another home game. It's just more dough for them. So there really is no downside to this whatsoever. So I think that is a marvelous thing. Now, the catch on all this, as much as we're loving it, is that, getting a cart before the horse a little bit. This realignment thing that began with Oklahoma and Texas and now spawned the alliance. And who knows what's going to happen with the Big 12 and the American now moving forward. They're going to have to see that landscape settle down. They're not going to pull the trigger on this nearly as quickly as people want, which might be bothersome to my friends in Bristol, because the potential of having this become a 2-network postseason is very legitimate. And I also think, and again, I'll say this, understanding that I work for Fox and I am part of the competition, I think it's in the best interest of college football to have 2 entities involved with its postseason rather than 1. It certainly helped the NFL when they had more than 1 entity. And that should be the business model. If there's one thing where the college football should learn from the NFL, is that having their product and their content on more than 1 network is for the common good of their sport. And I think we are headed towards that without question.